The Death of Koshchei the Deathless. In a certain kingdom there lived a Prince Ivan. He had 3 sisters. The first was Princess Marya, the second was Princess Olga, and the third was Princess Anna. When their father and mother lay at the point of death, they had thus enjoined their son. Give your sisters in marriage to the first suitors who come to woo them, but don't go keep them by you. They died, and the prince buried them. And then, to solace his grief, he went with his sisters into the garden green to stroll. Suddenly, the sky was covered by a black cloud, and a terrible storm arose. "Let us go home, sisters," he cried. Hardly had they got into the palace when the thunder pealed. The ceiling split open, and into the room came a flying falcon bright. The falcon smote upon the ground, became a brave youth, and said, "Hail, Princess Ivan! Before I came as a guest, but now I have come as a wooer. I wish to propose to your sister, the Princess Marya." "If you find favor in the eyes of my sister, I will not interfere with her wishes. Let her marry you in God's name." The Princess Marya gave her consent, and the falcon married her, and bore her away into his own realm. Days follow days, and hours chase hours. A whole year goes by. One day Prince Ivan and his 2 sisters went out for a stroll in the garden green. There again arose a storm cloud, with a whirlwind and lightning. "Let us go home, sisters," cries the prince. Scarcely had they entered the palace, when the thunder crashed, and the roof burst into a blaze, and the ceiling split in twain, and in flew an eagle. The eagle smote upon the ground and became a brave youth. "Hail, Prince Ivan! Before I came as a guest, but now I come as a wooer." And he asked for the hand of Princess Olga, and Prince Ivan replied, "If you find favor in the eyes of Princess Olga, then let her marry you. I will not interfere with her liberty of choice." The Princess Olga gave her consent and married the eagle. The eagle took her off and carried her to his own kingdom. Another year went by, and Prince Ivan said to his youngest sister, "Let us go out and stroll in the garden green." They strolled out and were about for a time, and again there arose a storm cloud, and a whirlwind and lightning. "Let us return home safe, sister," he said. They returned home, but they hadn't had time to sit down when the thunder crashed and the ceiling split open, and in flew a raven. The raven smote upon the floor and became a brave youth. The former youths had been handsome, but this one was handsomer still. "Well, Prince Ivan, before I came as a guest, but now I have come as a wooer. Give me the Princess Anna to wife." "I won't interfere with my sister's freedom. If you gain her affections, I let her marry you." So the Princess Anna married the raven, and he bore her away into his own realm, and Prince Ivan was left alone. A whole year he lived without his sisters, and then he grew weary and said, "I will set out in search of my sisters." He got ready for the journey, and he rode and rode. One day he saw a whole army lying dead on the plain. He cried aloud, "If there be a living man there, let him make answer. Who has slain this mighty host?" There replied unto him a living man. All this mighty host has been slain by the fair Princess Maria Morevna. Prince Ivan rode further on and came to a white tent, and forth came him to meet the fair Princess Maria Morova. Hail, Prince, says she. Whither does God send you, and is it your free will or against your will? Prince Ivan replied, Nor against their will do these brave youths ride. Well, if your business be not pressing, tarry a while in my tent. Thereat the Prince Ivan was glad. He spent 2 nights in the tent, and he found favor in the eyes of Maria Morevna, and she married him. And the fair Princess Maria Morova carried him off to her own realm. They spent some time together, and then the princess took it into her head to go a-warring. She had handed over the housekeeping affairs to Prince Ivan, and gave him these instructions. Go about everywhere, keep watch over everything, only do not venture to look into that closet over there. He couldn't help but do so. The moment Maria Morova had gone, he rushed to the closet, pulled open the door, and looked in. There hung Koshchei the Deathless, fettered by 12 chains. Then Koshchei entreated Prince Ivan, saying, Have pity on me! Give me something to drink! 10 years long have I been here in torment, neither eating nor drinking. My throat is utterly dried up. The prince gave him a bucket full of water, and he drank it up and asked for more, saying, Give me a single bucket of water will not quench my thirst. Give me more. The prince gave him a second bucketful, and Koshchei drank it up and asked for a third. And when he had swallowed the third bucketful, he regained his former strength and gave his chains a shake, and broke all 12 at once. Thanks, Prince Ivan, cried Koshchei the Deathless. Now you will soon see your own ears in Maria Morova. And out of the window he flew in the shape of a terrible whirlwind. And he came up to the fair Princess Maria Morovna, and she was going her way, laid hold of her and carried her off home with him. But Prince Ivan wept full sore, and he arrayed himself and set out a-wandering, saying to himself, Whatever happens, I will go and look for Maria Morovna. One day passed. Another day passed. At the dawn of the 3rd day he saw a wondrous palace, and by the side of the palace stood an oak. And on the oak sat a falcon bright. Down flew the falcon from the oak, and smoke upon the ground, turning into the brave youth, and cried aloud, Ah, dear brother-in-law, how deals the Lord with you? Out came running the Princess Maria, joyfully greeting her brother Ivan, and began inquiring about his health, and telling him all about herself. The prince spent 3 days with him, and then he said, I cannot abide with you. I go in search of my wife, the fair Princess Maria Morovna. It will be hard for you to find her, answered the falcon. At all events, have you with a silver spoon. Will you look at it and remember you? So Prince Ivan left his silver spoon at the falcon's, and went along his way. On he went one day, on he went a second day, And again on the third day he saw a palace still grander than the former one, and hard by the palace stood an oak, and on the oak sat an eagle. Down flew the eagle from the oak and smote upon the ground, turned into the brave youth, who cried out aloud, "Rise up, Princess Olga! Hither comes our dear brother!" The Princess Olga immediately ran to meet him and began kissing him and embracing him, asking after his health and telling him all about herself. With them, Prince Ivan stopped 3 days, and he said, "I cannot stay here any longer. I'm going to look for my wife, the fair Princess Marya Morevna." "Hard will it be for you to find her," replied the eagle. "Leave with us a silver fork. We will look at it and remember you." So, as he left the silver fork behind, and he went on his way. He had traveled 1 day, then traveled 2 days. And at daybreak on the third, he saw a palace grander than the first two. And near the palace stood an oak, and on the oak sat a raven. Down flew the raven from the oak, smote upon the ground, and turned into the brave youth, and cried aloud, "Princess Anna! Come forth quickly! Our brother is coming!" Out ran the Princess Anna and greeted him joyfully and began kissing and embracing him, asking his health and telling him all about herself again. Prince Ivan stayed with them 3 days as well. And after 3 days, "Farewell, I'm going to look for my wife, the fair Princess Marya Morevna." "Hard will it be to find her," replied the raven. "Anyhow, leave your silver snuff-box with us. We will look at it and remember you." Snuff-box. The prince handed over his silver snuff-box and took his leave, and he went on his way. 1 day he went. 2 days he went. On the third day he came to where Marya Morevna was. He caught sight of her. As she caught sight of her love, she flung her arms around his neck and burst into tears and exclaimed, "Oh, Prince Ivan! Why did you disobey me and go looking into the closet and letting out Koshchei the Deathless?" "Forgive me, Marya Morevna. Remember not the past. Much better fly with me while Koshchei the Deathless is out of sight. Perhaps he won't catch us." So they got ready and fled. Now Koshchei was out hunting. Towards evening he was returning home, and when his good steed stumbled beneath him. "Why stumbled thou, sorry jade? Scentest thou some ill?" Steer replied, "Prince Ivan has come and carried off Marya Morevna." "Is it possible to catch them?" "It is possible to sow wheat, to wait till it grows up, to reap it and to thresh it, to grind it to flour, to make 5 pies out of it and eat those pies, and then to start in pursuit. Even then to be in time." The horse wanted pie. So Koshchei galloped off and caught up with Prince Ivan. "Now," says he, "this is the time I will forgive you. In return for your kindness in giving me water to drink, and a second time I will forgive you, but the third time beware. I will cut you to bits." Then he took Marya Morevna from him and carried her off. But Prince Ivan sat down on a stone and burst into tears. He wept, and then returned back to Marya Morevna. Now Koshchei the Deathless happened to not be home. "Let us fly, Marya Morevna." "Prince Ivan, he will catch us." "Suppose he does not catch us. At all events, we shall have spent an hour or two together. So they got ready and fled. As Koshchei the Deathless was returning home, his good steed stumbled beneath him. Why stumblest thou, sorry jade? Scentest thou some ill?
Princess Ivan has come and carried her off, Maria Morevna.
Is it possible to catch them?
It is possible to sow barley where it still comes up, and reap it, and thresh it, and brew beer, and drink ourselves drunk on it, to fill our sleep, and then still set off in pursuit, and yet to be in time.
Koshchei galloped off and caught up to Prince Ivan. Didn't I tell you that you should not see Maria Morevna any more than your own ears? And he took her away and carried her off home with him. Prince Ivan was left there alone. He wept and wept and went back again to Maria Morevna. Koshchei happened to be away from home at that moment as well. Let us fly, Maria Morevna.
Prince Ivan, he is sure to catch us and hew you into pieces.
Let him hew away. I cannot live without you. So they got ready and fled. Koshchei the Deathless was returning home when his good steed stumbled beneath him. Why stumblest thou now? Scentest thou any ill?
Prince Ivan has come and carried off Maria Morevna.
Koshchei galloped off, caught Prince Ivan and chopped him into little pieces, put him into a barrel, smeared it with pitch and bound it with iron hoops, then flung it into the sea. But Maria Morevna he carried off home. At that very time, the silver articles turned black, which Princess Ivan had left with his brothers-in-law. Hey, he said, the evil was accomplished, sure enough. Then the eagle hurried to the blue sea and caught hold of the barrel and dragged it ashore. The falcon flew away for the water of life, and the raven for the water of death. Afterwards, they all three met and broke up in the barrel and took out the remains of Prince Ivan, washed them, and put them back together in the fitting order. Luckily. The raven then sprinkled them with the water of death, and the pieces joined together, and the body became whole. The falcon sprinkled it with the water of life. Prince Ivan shuddered and stood up and said, What a time I've been sleeping! You'd have gone on sleeping a great deal longer if it hadn't been for us, replied his brothers-in-law. Now, come and pay us a visit. Not so, brothers. I shall go and look for Maria Morevna. And when he found her, he said to her, Find out from Koshchei the Deathless whence he got so good a steed. So Maria Morevna chose a favorable moment and began asking Koshchei about it. Koshchei replied, Beyond thrice 9 lands in the 13th kingdom on the other side of the fiery river, there lives a Baba Yaga. She has so good a mare that she flies right around the world on it every day. And she has many other splendid mares. I watched her herd for 3 days without losing a single mare, and in return for that the Baba Yaga gave me a foal. But how did you get across the fiery river? Why, I have a handkerchief of this kind. When I wave it thrice to the right hand, There springs up a very lofty bridge, and the fire cannot reach it. Marya Morevna listened to all this and repeated it to Prince Ivan, and she carried off the handkerchief and gave it to him. So he managed to get across the fiery river and then went on to the Baba Yaga's. Long went he on without getting anything either to eat or drink. At last he came across the outlandish bird and its young ones. Says Prince Ivan, "I'll eat one of those chickens."
"Don't eat it, Princess Ivan," begs the outlandish bird. "Some other time or other I'll do you a good turn."
He went on further and saw a hive of bees in the forest. "I'll get a bit of the honeycomb," he says.
"You don't deserve my honey, Prince Ivan,"
exclaims the queen bee.
"Some other time or other I'll do you a good turn."
So he didn't disturb it, and he went on. Presently there he met a lioness with her cub. "Anyhow, I'll eat this lion cub," he says. "I'm so hungry I feel quite unwell."
"Please let us alone, Prince Ivan," begs the lioness. "Some time or another I'll do you a good turn."
"Very well. Have it your own way," says he. Hungry and faint, he wandered on, walked farther and farther, and at last he came to where stood the house of the Baba Yaga. Round the house were set 12 poles in a circle, and on each of 11 of these poles was stuck a human head. The 12th alone remained unoccupied. "Oh, Granny!"
"Ow, Prince Ivan, wherefore have you come? Is it on your own accord or on compulsion?"
"I've come to earn from you a heroic steed."
"So be it, Prince. You won't have to serve a year with me, but just 3 days. If you take good care of my mares, I'll give you a heroic steed. But if you don't, why, you mustn't be annoyed at finding your head stuck on top of the last pole up there."
Prince Ivan agreed to these terms. The Baba Yaga gave him food and drink and bade him set about his business. But the moment he had driven the mares afield, they cocked up their tails and tore away across the meadows in all directions. Thereupon he began to weep and to disquiet himself, and then he sat down upon a stone and went to sleep. But when the sun was near its setting, the outlandish bird came flying up to him and awakened him, saying,
"Arrive, Prince Ivan! The mares are at home now."
The prince arose and returned home. There the Baba Yaga was storming and raging at her mares and shrieking,
"Whatever did you come home for?"
"How could we not help coming home?" they said. "There came flying birds from every part of the world, and all but pecked our eyes out."
Well, tomorrow don't go galloping over the meadow, but disperse among the thick forests."
Prince Ivan slept all night. In the morning, the Baba Yaga says to him,
"Mind, Prince, if you don't take good care of the mares, if you lose merely one of them, your bold head will be stuck on that pole."
He drove the mares afield. Immediately they cocked up their tails and dispersed among the thick forests. Again did the prince sit down on the stone and weep and weep, and then go to sleep. The sun went down behind the forest, and up came running the lioness. Prince Ivan, the mares are collected. Prince Ivan arose and went home. More than ever did Baba Yaga storm and rage at her mares and shriek, "Whatever did you come home for?"
We could not help coming back. Beasts of prey came running at us from all parts of the world, and all but tore us utterly to pieces.
Well, tomorrow run off to the Blue Sea.
Again, Prince Ivan slept through the night. He gets more sleep than I do. Next morning, the Baba Yaga sent him forth to watch her mares.
If you don't take good care of them, says she, your bald head will be stuck on that pole.
He drove the mares afield. Immediately they cocked up their tails and disappeared from sight and fled into the blue sea. There they stood up to their necks in water. Prince Ivan came down and sat on the stone and wept and fell asleep again. But when the sun had set behind the forest, up came flying a bee.
Rise, Prince. The mares are collected. But when you go home, don't let Baba Yaga set eyes on you, but go into the stable and hide behind the mangers. There you will find a sorry coat rolling in the muck. Do you steal it, and at the dead of night ride away from the house.
Prince Ivan arose and slipped into the stables and lay down behind the mangers, while the Baba Yaga was storming away at her mares and shrieking,
Why did you come back?
How could we not help coming back? There came flying bees in countless numbers from all parts of the world and began stinging us on all sides until the blood came.
The Baba Yaga went into sleep. In the dead of the night, the Prince Ivan stole the sorry colt, saddled it, jumped on its back, and galloped away to the fiery river. When he came to the river, he waved the handkerchief 3 times on the right hand, and suddenly, springing goodness knows whence, there hung across the river a high, splendid bridge. When the Baba Yaga got up in the morning, the sorry colt was not to be seen. Off she set in pursuit. At full speed did she fly in her iron mortar, urging it on with the pestle, sweeping away her traces with the broom. That's how Baba Yagas travel, by the way. She dashed up to the fire river and gave a glance and said,
A capital bridge.
She drove on the bridge, but had only got halfway when the bridge broke in 2. The Baba Yaga went flop into the river. Truly there did she meet with a cruel death. There's always another. Prince Ivan fattened up the colt on the green meadows, and it turned into a wondrous steed. Then he rode where Marya Morovna was. She came running out and flung herself on his neck, crying,
By what means has God brought you back to life?
Thus and thus, he says. Now come along with me.
I am afraid, Prince Ivan. If Koshchei catches you, you will be cut into pieces again.
No, he won't catch us. I have a splendid steed now. It flies just like a bird. So they got on its back and rode away. Koshchei the Deathless was returning home when his horse stumbled beneath him. Why art thou stumbling for, sorry jade? Dost thou scent any ill?
Prince Ivan has come and married off Maria Marovna.
Can we catch them?
God knows. Prince Ivan is on a horse now which is better than I.
Well, I can't stand it, says Koshchei the Deathless. I will pursue. After a time, he came up with Prince Ivan, lighted on the ground, and was going to chop him up with his sharp sword. But at that moment, Prince Ivan's horse smote Koshchei the Deathless a full swing with its hoof and cracked his skull. And the prince made an end of him with a club. Afterwards, the prince heaped up a pile of wood, set it to fire, and burnt Koshchei the Deathless on the pyre, and scattered his ashes to the wind. Then Maria Marovna mounted Koshchei's horse, and Prince Ivan got on his own, and they rode away to visit first the raven, then the eagle, and then the falcon. Wherever they went, they met with a joyful greeting.
Prince Ivan, why, we never expected to see you again. Well, it wasn't for nothing that we gave you so much trouble. Such a beauty as Princess Maria Marovna, one might search all the world over. Never find one like her.
And so they visited, and they feasted, and afterwards they went off to their own realm.